fundamental Christianity is the peeps that really enjoy that Christian babble. It's the ultra-conservatism that held a lot of power in the 1920s, and it was pretty popular among Midwestern, Southerner types, that area, you know, with the rednecks. They were also the ones responsible for bringing in that prohibition that gave rise to all the gangs and the crime and the suffering. I mean, you saw Untouchables. That little girl, blew up. Conservatism did that. This was because they had a lot of money, but their high and mightiness was put to the ultimate test in the 20s and 30s, with that trial of the monkeys and the Great Depressions and all that. But in the meantime, they were enjoying their utter failure that was the prohibition. They weren't really enjoying it, that was sarcasms. The failures that were experienced by fundamental Christians and their ultra-conservatism all were leading to the downfall of their power in the government. Since at that time, they pretty much had the most power in government dealings than any other citizen Fang. For example, prohibition. Man, during the 20s, Christian fundamentalism was tight. They were the whiniest voice in America, and with that, they had a say in most matters. They even got a beverage outlawed. These peeps were living the high life. And Christian fundamentalism was also the main driving force for the rise of the KKK. And they're just fine, and did nothing wrong, and loved everybody. These fundamentals also wanted to pass anti-evolution laws and stuff, so that only their teachings will be heard. This led to the Scopes trial of 1925, because people were evidently sick of their shit. The trial of the monkeys was because a teacher had the audacity to teach a conflicting but scientifically sound theory in Tennessee. And since this state was dictated at the time by those conservatist Christians, they couldn't have any of that. Since anyone arguing Christianity over science will lose horribly, they lost horribly, and were beaten so hard that the representative they chose to present the case in court died! Clarence Darrow verbally beat a fundamental Christian so hard that his life ended! It was actually due to diabetes. Christians in charge of healthy lifestyle choices, am I right? This was 1925, and everything was just downhill from here for the fundamental Christians. And a little event that you might have heard of was going to shake the foundations of the fundamentals of the Christians and pretty much everybody else as well. It was called the French Revolution. Great Depression, 1929, October 29, Tuesday. Prices of stocks had been falling at the highest rate ever, culminating to this final day where the stock market exploded. Everybody lost their money somehow in a giant black hole called Wall Street, and were left poor and at the mercy of a fumbling Republican government. America slipped into a depression and yada yada, suffering, etc. But what happened to the fundamental Christians? Someone in the back row of the class asks, on the edge of their seat. And I'll answer that question, because it's necessary for the task. Well, people were more preoccupied with defending their last garbage scraps to care about conservatism. So fundamental Christianity had lost a lot of its power. And when I say power, I mean money. Because that was their power, you see, money and stuff. Everyone was broke. Fundamentalists discovered that they weren't that special without that sweet dollar, and they then found themselves without any influence. This is mostly speculation because the internet doesn't have the greatest amount of information at this point in time of their tragic existence, so I guess we'll have to assume that the slim few that still cared about the Christians' conservatism went on to found the Wheelbarrow Baptist Church. Well, my script has ended, so I guess we should do a recap or something. Shut up, Brendan. You know I'm the one doing all the work here. Yeah, go cry. Do you see what I have to deal with, guys? Just look at that poor kid. Okay, let's recount. This is the part where you take notes. I guess. The fundamentals enact prohibition. The fundamental Christians, being ultra-mega super conservative, are in luck with the future of Republican presidency in the 20s. So they outlaw alcohol with the 19th Amendment, giving rise to the gangs and such. Christians are already on a roll. Sometime at this point, the KKK get busy. The KKK is the next step up from fundamental Christian conservative types. This group hates everything they deem un-American, so they're pretty conservative. The rest of the fundamental Christians would probably really enjoy some of the practices the KKK partake in, but don't due to moral obligation, I suppose. They get beat down in the Scopes trial. After passing anti-evolution laws in states, Pepys wanted to send out a message, and John Scopes was convicted of teaching evolution in a school. In the court, the Christians had the ultimate beatdown served to them from Clarence Darrow. The utter gangster verbally murdered Brian Jennings. This whole ordeal got some of the funder taken from the fundamental Christians. The economy explodes and fundamentality goes away. So the economy dies, and America goes into the great huge depression, and everyone loses their money, including the fundamental Christians. This was their power since the beginning, putting the money in every government pocket they could for the betterment of their goals and stuff. Now no more, and this powerful altar of fundamental Christianism's movement just kind of went away. At least this era of fundamentality is over, because if they didn't go away, prohibition might just still be a thing. You can thank Roosevelt and people that aren't dumb for that. So this is how the Christian fundamentals experienced change over the Great Depression. They just kind of, left. Just trust me, they just went away. They just went away.